All right, gang. Artificial intelligence, they're spending gazillions of dollars on it, but can it help a game that's 200 years old? I think it can. And I would say that the root of a great umpire, the very first thing an umpire must have in order to be a good umpire is knowledge of the rules. And I'm just going to be totally transparent here. I struggle. I struggle reading rule books. I've been an umpire for about 5 years. I know those words are in English. English is my native language, but I still struggle reading rule books. Sometimes I struggle reading case books, and they're like supposed to be the simple ones. But I struggle with this. Some of you don't. Some of you are great at this. You've been doing it a long time. You speak the language, but I don't. And so one of the things that I've been doing in the last couple of years as AI has grown is using AI to help me become a better umpire. So tonight we're going to talk about understanding the rules that we have that we could use, and you do not have to pay for these. These are the free versions, okay? We're going to test it against a rules test. We're going to test it against videos. We're going to actually give it a video and then ask the question in this video, and we're going to ask questions just on pasting the video. And then we're going to test it against your questions that you pose. So that's the goal. So, and let me just jump over here to Google Meet one more time. Hey, Rusty, if you look in the chat, we have switched over to Dan, if you can mute for me, Dan Furlan. We
Yeah,
switched
I
over
just want to
to,
make sure that you're doing recording on since we switched over.
I am
That you got
absolutely.
all that stuff going on. Okay,
I
just make
did
sure.
I did do one thing right tonight, and that was to remember to record. So thanks for checking on me. Um, it's a fair question given my track record so far. So, so here are the two tools that we're going to use, and you can use lots of different ones. These are the ones I use because I'm a paid Google subscriber for custom email addresses, whatever. But you don't have to pay for these. There are free versions. Okay, and as you can see on my window on the left side, right, is my slideshow, and on the right side is the tool, one of the tools we're going to be using, which is Gemini. So Google has Gemini, right? OpenAI has ChatGPT, right? Microsoft has Copilot, whatever. So these are Google tools, okay? And so Gemini is one and Notebook LM is another. And they're both Google tools and they do similar things differently. So I'm going to go through 2 minutes and explain the two different tools. Gemini is a knowledge base. A knowledge base, which is when you think of general AI and people think, and I've heard a lot of umpires say AI sucks. Okay, you're right. A lot of AI does suck because if you ask it a question, what it does is it combines your information, your notebook data, with live internet and general training. And if you look on the internet for rules help, it sucks most of the time. It might get right, but most of the time it's not going to be right, right? So you have to be careful in how you're searching for rules information on the web. And so primarily, Gemini is like ChatGPT or Copilot. Is you're going to search, it's going to find stuff maybe you've uploaded, but mostly, most of you, you're going to have to just go look on. It's going to go look through the web. It's going to go try to find your answer on the internet somewhere. Okay. Now, Notebook LM is different. I want you to think about Notebook LM like a classroom, and you're going to assign a textbook. And all the questions, all the answers to all your questions are in the textbook. That's our rules and our casebook. So Notebook LM, and this is crazy, and you're going to love this. It stays strictly within your uploaded sources. So if Todd says, I'm a softball umpire and I only want to look at softball rules for Little League. Little League as a organization has their own rules for baseball and softball. And so he could just have the softball Little League rule book, and every question he asks in Notebook LM, it would only look in the Little League softball rule book if he uploaded that. Okay. But let's just say Leonard here is like, no, I'm a college umpire and I need NCAA rules, right? So I need to look there. Then you could upload that rule book and it would just look there. All right. So you can restrict your searches to those. Gemini is going to do both. Here's an example. I often, when I type things into Gemini, it will find the answer from the rulebook I uploaded, but it will also pull in a Patrick Farber video from YouTube because he's put out so much content that it'll also look for the answer to that question and it'll say, oh, by the way, here's a helpful video. And I'm like, yep. It is. It's another Patrick Farber video, and they're always very helpful. All right. So what about strengths? The strength of Gemini is it's great for quick things, is a way I would say that. It's great for quick action and more creativity. But with rules, we don't want creativity. We want the right friggin' answer, right? So primary strength of Notebook LM is it's for deep diving into long documents. What's an example of a long document? I don't know, a rule book,
Rule book.
right? So we are going to say it's going to find specific cross references. So it's going to go find your rule book and your case book, and it's going to look into those. And when it gives you answers, it will almost always say, here's a rule, and here's an example in the case book. It will almost always do both of those. All right. Next up, hallucination risk. Have you ever put something into a search and it gives you results and you're like, that is not what I meant? Okay. A lot of times, and it will do this specifically with images, when I ask you to do something, if you guys seen these AI fails where someone has like 9 fingers and 3 legs or something like that. And so the problem with Gemini is it can improvise. It will mix its data with the internet. And that's where we get this crap when we search for stuff and it gives you bad results. The hallucination risk on Notebook LM, again, it's free. And I'm going to show you the difference in just a minute, is it's just going to look at your sources. Now, it might get your sources wrong. I've asked Notebook LM for stuff and it has done a bad job. Okay, it's happened before. But generally, it's just going to look at your content. So it might get the answer wrong or slightly wrong, but it's not because it pulled some random video from some dummy that feels like they know baseball rules and they don't. Okay. The last thing is citations. And I just want you to look at this under Notebook LM. Cites every single claim with a direct scroll to text snippet for verification. So what that says is, oh, would you like to see that in the rule book? Click here. It'll go to that specific rule because that's what we have to get better at. We have to get better at what is the rule, right? What is the rule? 842B, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So that's the difference between Gemini and Notebook LM. All right. So really quick, here are the different versions, and this is very quick, is what do you get if you pay for it? And I'm not telling you to pay for it. You don't have to go pay for it. But with Notebook LM, think about this. If your library can only fit 50 books, that's your library. Okay, that's fine. Now your notebook library could be YouTube videos, PDFs. It could be just text documents. It could be all kinds of stuff. And I'll show you this. It could be images. But with the paid version, you get up to 300 sources. And I'll show you what that looks like. So when I want to upload a source, all right, let's just say Todd, who I know who's here, he created this document on how to do your taxes as an umpire. He made that, okay? And I'm like, oh, that'd be good general information. I'm going to upload that to my notebook. So when I have a question about taxes for umpires, I'm going to ask it, and it's going to go find information from that resource. So I would hit upload files, go find that PDF, and I'd put it in here. Like it'll search my Google Drive, it'll search websites, it'll look through whole websites. It'll also look through YouTube videos and obviously PDFs, okay? So this is what my Notebook LM looks like. And I put them all under one notebook called Best Umpire Show, my podcast. And so I put videos, 10 Great Reasons to Be an Umpire. These are my podcast episodes. I put in the rule book. Okay. I took pictures of the rule book and I had to upload it into 4 sections because it was too big. I turned it into a PDF and I uploaded it, which is, I think, one of your primary questions is, hey, Andy, how did you get the rule book in your AI? Because guess what they don't give us? They don't give us the rule book. They give it to us in their version, right? I'm just double checking if there's other users over here. Okay, it's just Dave Wall. He's checked out. All right. Now, they'll give us the rule book in their sort of locked down version, but I can't get the rule book in my AI unless I take pictures of it. And I will just tell you this, if you're an Apple user, if you get the Apple Notes app and you open it up, there are instructions there on how to scan pages. And it will literally just scan page after page after page. And then you have to take that, and I'll make a video about this as well, but you take it and then you can convert it to a PDF. You slice it into 4 and you upload it. And you might be like, man, that's a lot of work. All in all, it's probably 20 minutes. So it took me 20 minutes to get that and upload the whole thing. So these are the resources that it's pulling from. Okay. I even put a Google sheet here for umpire pay. So I could ask my Notebook LM, what's the average high school pay for an umpire in New York. And it's going to go pull information from, let me show you this real quick. Um, it's going to go pull information from this spreadsheet. All right, you guys all see my screen? All right. It's going to take all this information from all these 400 and some umpires, right? And it's going to tell me what the average pay is for an umpire in New York. And I'm going to be able to do that because I linked that resource under my Notebook LM. Okay. Let's go on and do some testing here. So total notebooks doesn't really matter. You're probably never going to use that many. But this is just how many sources it can use. And I doubt you're ever going to use that many. Okay. But this is all the different notebooks I have. All right. So let's actually test this thing. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a rules test from a 2025 NFHS baseball exam, and we're going to test Gemini and Notebook LM. All right. And if you have questions, just make sure they apply to what we're talking about. But go ahead and unmute and ask a question. I'm going to go copy and paste this in here. But if you have a question, go ahead and chime in. And you can interrupt me. That's fine. But I'm going to pull up. Yeah, go ahead.
The data that you're putting in there, the PDFs or whatever, is that staying private or is that open sourcing to everyone?
Private. Absolutely private. Now, you can share your notebooks with other people, but in the paid version of Notebook LM, they have to be like in your company. So I can't go share my notebook with you publicly. Now, with ChatGPT, you can share a ChatGPT with the whole, like you can make it public, right? But because NFHS owns the rule book, I have my own opinions about that. But because they own it, you're not supposed to disseminate it publicly. So I think that I have a right to take my notebook and read it however I want to read it. But you can't share that publicly in Gemini, as I understand it, or in Notebook LM, but with ChatGPT, you could. Okay. I wouldn't encourage you to because essentially it's taking something that's private and putting it out into the world. It would be like if I wrote a book and then you took that book and just made it available on the web. But you could. Does that answer your question? I'll assume. Okay. All right. All right. So here's the thing. We're going to take this question right here. Okay. And so this is a video. Okay. So let's go ahead and click and open this video. Can you guys all see this video? Can I get a yes from somebody? Can you see this video?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right. So all this is a kid who hits a home run. All right. And he takes his helmet off. About right. That's the kid who hit the home run. But he takes his helmet off about right here. Right there. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to show you in a minute. By the way, the umpire just laughed at him. But I'm going to show you in a minute how Gemini can actually watch a video for you and give you a ruling on it, right? But here's how I want to teach you how to use this rule. We're going to use Gemini and we're going to use Notebook LM, okay? So this is what we're going to take this text, okay? And I'm just going to put it in here and I'm going to paste it, okay? How should the umpire rule when the batter runner removes the helmet? And we'll add here. After hitting a home run, removes his helmet before touching home, after hitting a home run. All right. And then we're going to see what it says. And we'll take the same thing, and I'm actually going to take this same thing and I'll put it in Notebook LM. While it's thinking, let me do that and put it over here. Now, you'll notice real quick, it's finding my answer from 20 sources. Okay? That's where it's going to go find its answers from. Not going to find it from the web. Okay, so let's see what Gemini says. Gemini's taking its sweet old time. So let's see what this one has to say. An interesting thing with AI is sometimes it reminds me of the internet when I was a kid. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it actually like takes a long time to think, you know, when you have to like, you used to have to like wait for things to load. Okay. All right. All right. The umpire should ignore the infraction since the ball is dead because of the home run. According to 2026 NFHS casebook situation 1B1, 151B. If a batter runner hits a home run and removes their helmet while circling the bases, there is no penalty because the ball is dead. The penalty for deliberately removing a batting helmet in a live ball territory only applies if the ball is live. And so here's going to be where it cites it. So I hover over that, and what do you know? There's my picture of the rule book from that, where it's going to cite that rule. And it's going to cite that one right there. All right, it's going to cite that one right there. Anybody else have any questions about this specific ruling? Do you agree? Did it get it right? Okay, so this is what Gemini said. The answer is B. Requires players to keep their batting helmets on strictly enforced while the ball is live. The ball becomes dead. And so here's where Gemini is interesting. If you've never done this before, this is really interesting. So it's going to say, hey, here's the rule, and here's the casebook reference. And then it says, hey, would you like me to find the specific rule regarding what happens if a runner's helmet accidentally falls off while they're running the bases? And then it says, hey, by the way, here's this video that shows proper umpire positioning and mechanics, including how to handle dead ball situations like home runs, blah, 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 blah. So that's where Gemini is actually going out into the web and it's looking for some other stuff. All right. Now, listen, you might have already known that rule. That might be a simple rule. But I think if you want to become a better umpire, why not use a tool like this? Because it's going to start, it's basically like talking with an umpire friend, but you don't have to have an umpire friend. And I hope you have an umpire friend. I'm your friend, but I'm not available all the time. These are always available. Okay. So that's how it's going to go find those answers. Let's do a couple more. Okay. So this one is a question about what is allowed in the coach's box. Let's see what it is. I haven't actually seen this one. I don't know what he's holding. All right. He's got an iPad. All right. So anybody know the rule on this? Come on. It's an easy one.
Yeah,
What,
can
what's
you
the
hear
rule?
me, Andy?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's the rule?
Yeah. He's not allowed to have that out there.
He is not allowed to have that. Sorry, coach.
That's correct.
Go give it to your kid. Go give it to your kid in the stands who you brought to the game.
Yep. Get it off the
Is the coach allowed to have an iPad on the field? All right. And you don't always have to type everything correctly, by the way. It'll figure out what you mean. Okay. So let's do that one there. Let's do that one here. And remember, this is just looking through these sources over here. Now, here's the thing. If I just wanted to look at the rules, I could just look at the rule books. All right. Or I could just look at the case play books. Or I could just look at videos. Or I could just look at this spreadsheet. But I actually wanted to search all of these. And this is one where you get 50 resources if it's free or 300 sources if it's paid. So, all right. So according to 331H, says situation P, if an individual coach box has an electronic device, it is illegal. The penalty allows the umpire to either restrict the coach to the bench or dugout or eject them from the game. And there's our resources. Okay. So I'm not going to bore you guys with a lot of these, but let's just do one that's a little more nuanced. Okay. All right. At the beginning of the third inning, the head coach tells the plate umpire that Baker will bat for the fourth batter in the inning, Davis, if the inning lasts how long. So Baker's going to bat for Davis. Got it? The fourth batter. Wilson comes to bat instead of Baker. Where's Davis? We don't know. And does not tell the plate umpire. With no outs, it's a run-scoring double play. So Wilson batted instead of Baker, instead of Davis for Baker. All right, so let's see what the rule is. And that was question 14. Is that right? Nope, wrong one. 17. I can do math. All right. So I think this is interesting because now we're getting into substitutions. We're getting into courtesy, pinch hitters. We're getting all kinds of stuff. All right. So we're going to paste that into our Gemini, hit enter, let that think. We're going to go to Notebook LM. We're going to post that in. Now, I didn't say anything else like answer this question. Here's a multiple choice. I'm doing a test. Just paste it in there and see what it does. Okay. And see what it gives you. Now, do I think AI is always right? No. I've specifically seen it be wrong. But you can also tell it to be right. By the way, if you like batter runner or U1 or U2 or runner 1 or batter 2 or things like that, like you can say, always refer to the runner at first base as R1. Always refer to the runner at second base as R2. when you talk to me. And it'll always do that from then on if you're used to that sort of language, which a lot of rule books. All right, here we go. Tell me if you guys agree or not. Wilson is an unreported substitute. Upon discovery, the player umpire will make the needed change in the lineup. Here's a breakdown of why this is the correct ruling. So projected substitutions are illegal. Projected substitutions are not allowed. Should not have recorded head coaches and neutral. So basically, like you can't say, okay, you're going to do it then. So you wouldn't have written it down, right? That's what one thing it's saying is you don't do a projected substitution. Like you can't say, oh, okay, I'll do that. You have to do it when it actually happens. All right. Because Baker's projected substitution was invalid, Wilson entering the batter's box makes him an unreported sub. All right, which is defined here. If there is no announcement of substitution, a substitute legally enters the game the moment the ball is live and the batter takes the position in the batter's box. So he's legal at that point. There is no penalty. As outlined in the case book, so we went from rule book to case book. Once an unreported eligible substitute enters the batter's box and the ball's live, they're officially in the game and there's no penalty. Right? So it took us from three different rules to a case book play, which I think is interesting. Anybody have any questions or comments about that? Anybody disagree with that answer? All right. Let's do some videos. So Notebook LM won't do this, but Gemini will. So let me show you this. And we'll watch they're all very short. So we'll watch these and then we'll ask our AI to help us. All right, so little Tommy saw this on TikTok or something, and he thought it'd be cool to leave the ball in his glove. And I think what's interesting is, where is the ball right now? I think the ball is on the back of his glove in his hand. Like he's got one finger holding it right there, okay? So he's going to come set with the ball in the glove, but not in his hand. Then he's going to raise his hand, and let's see if he stops. Stop, stop. It's kind of a continuous movement. So here's all we're going to do, okay? All we're going to do is we're going to take that URL for this video, which, by the way, I took all these URLs for the video and I put them in here, okay? So let me take that. And I put them in that I linked this to you earlier. So we're going to take this and we're just going to put it in Gemini. All right. And I do not know how this is going to work. I think it's going to work, but is this legal? All right. And we'll see if it finds it. I might have to use a different URL. Let me double check. But Notebook LM will not do this. Okay. Notebook LM will not find the video. But what I think is going to be really interesting is in the very near future, and maybe some now, you can actually take a video and upload it to AI and ask it its opinion on this. The one I'm really interested in, I think some of you guys have seen this probably, is the quick pitch one. I'm interested to see if the video can actually pick up on the quick pitch, because there's a video going around of a pitcher quick pitching and the umpire does not catch it at all. And I'll also say this, a lot of you guys are really good umpires. You really know your stuff. But what I would say is if you're a new umpire and you want to learn, I think this is a pretty cool way to learn. Meaning you could simply, like Notebook LM stands for learning management. So it's a way to help you learn. Okay. So if you start to think about, hey, you could assign, hey, take these 10 videos, load them to AI, and I want you to come back and tell me the rules and the reasons behind them. Okay. So the Notebook LM couldn't do it, but the Gemini will. And we'll see what it says in a second. Here we go. The other thing I've done is I connected my Gemini chat with my Notebook LM, so they actually talk to each other. All right. So while this video shows a clever trick play where the pitcher pretends to throw the ball to a base but actually delivers the ball to the plate, it violates the rules regarding continuous motions and deception. Now, the AI thinks that he faked to first. right? Which is understandable because it's just trying to watch the video. Okay. So I want us to challenge each other on this. What it says is you failed to deliver in a continuous motion. Under Rule 624D, a pitcher must pitch to the batter in a continuous motion once they've started any movement associated with the delivery habitually used by that pitcher. So they can't stop twice, is what they're saying. The pitcher stops his initial delivery motion to fake a throw. And he doesn't fake a throw, but he does raise an open hand. All right. So I don't think it's illegal because he faked a throw. But here's what's cool. Check this out. And this AI does this all the time. It'll say, here's what happened. Here's what NFHS says, and here's the rule that it relates to. So if you fake a throw, that's a balk, and here's why. So let me ask you all, what would you rule on this play? A couple of you guys unmute. What would you rule if you saw that?
Andy, this is Art.
Hey, Art, go ahead.
In Illinois, I would balk him, number one, because he didn't stop, so he didn't come to a full set. Number two, what he did with his left arm could be considered deceptive. So that's a second reason you could balk him.
Yeah. So repeat that again. He did not come set, you think?
I didn't see him come to a complete set because if the left arm's still moving, even if the right arm is still, it's got to be a complete discernible stop.
So here's the reason it's confusing to me is, and again, this is where I would just ask this. Okay, all right. I would have a conversation. Can a pitcher have the ball in their
I have
glove?
something, Andy, when
Yeah,
you're
go ahead.
ready.
Go ahead.
So this is a balk all day because the ball is supposed to be in the glove, not on the glove, for one.
Love it. Love it.
Second, he did not stop, so he did not have a discernible stop.
Let's watch it again real
And
quick. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just want
and by
to
the
refresh
way,
myself.
it is the pitcher's job to deceive the runner. So please get that out of your vernacular. Whoever thinks that is the proper verbiage, that is not. It is the pitcher's job to deceive the runners.
So tell me a situation in which you would use different language to explain a balk. I mean, you just
So
don't
you
use
have
the
your
word
start
deceive?
stop. You have your start stop box. Yes. So you basically have your start stop box,
Right.
or you have your ones where they don't come to one continuous motion.
All right. Well, let's
For
watch this again real
instance,
quick.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you're all right about because that's even slowed down, I think. And even slowed down, it doesn't look like he stopped. Yeah, so that's all one big long motion. So I'd agree with that. But this is where I would start to have a conversation. Can a pitcher have the ball in their glove, raise their empty hand, and grab the ball and pitch? I should have said on the outside of their glove. But that's where you can have a conversation with it. So let's take this one, which I don't know if you guys have seen this quick pitch one, but it happens fast because it's a quick pitch. So let's all watch this real quick. Here we go. Watch. Watch the pitcher. Strike three. Watch this. That is just the definition of a quick pitch. And it's just such a quick pitch. All right, so let me grab this URL. And rarely do I agree with the mom who screams, "That is terrible," but she was right. That was terrible. What do you see here? Is it legal? All right, we will ask it that. And then over here, you might say, what is the definition of a quick pitch? And where is it in the rule book? All right. Because I actually don't think they use the phrase quick pitch. I'm trying to remember what they use. There's some specific language they use. But this is where I always use the phrase quick pitch. And so I would go, I'd say, do they use that? And I'm trying to remember because I was doing some research on this. A quick return pitch is an attempt to catch the batter off balance, is located in 611. Pitcher shall not make a quick return pitch in an attempt to catch a batter off balance. And then it has the penalties for that. Okay. Um, how do penalties change when the runners are on? Are there other illegal pitches to find? So you can start to see where you can have more of like a conversation. And for someone that just doesn't is not very confident in my mastery of the rule book, I can sit here for a long time and just keep going down this path. And because I know it's just referencing these resources, which are official NFH resources, I know that it's giving me good information generally. Let's see if our Gemini came up with anything. Um, let's see here. Oh, didn't do this. Oh, there we go. Sorry. All right. Let's move on to this last one, which is, oh, this is a really good one. Is he out of the baseline? So I'd love for you in the chat just to tell me if you think he's out of the baseline. Here we go. All right. What do you guys think? Was he out of the baseline? Unmute and tell me. What do you think? Out of the baseline?
Yes.
No,
Yes, no.
I say no.
I'm going to blow it up. All right. So here's my question. Has there been a tag attempt? I don't
No,
think
not
there,
yet.
I don't think there has. Has there been a tag attempt? I think
Not,
now,
he's starting his tag attempt.
I
Yes.
think he's starting his tag attempt now. Okay. All right. So, and then you'll see where he is, and let's just watch where he goes from there. So I think the interesting thing is, I think he was already 3 feet away when the guy started his tag attempt, which is why he looks like he ran out of the baseline because he was already 3 feet away, but he didn't run another 3 feet, right?
I think
So,
that's a good.
so is he out of the baseline? What I want to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to say, is he out of the baseline? And again, this isn't about these videos, guys. It's about just having a tool that will help you get better. Okay. Um, which I think is fascinating. All right. So is he out of the baseline? And then what it's going to say is it's going to tell whether they think he was out of the baseline or not, but it's also going to clarify what is his baseline and how is it established. And you can even say, what do I signal, right? Or do I kill the play, right? It's all those nuances that someone who's been doing it a long time knows, but someone who's trying to learn or someone who forgets often, which is more my case. I'm like, oh yeah, I learned that last year and I forgot it already. Or what's the right verbiage to use? That's going to these are all going to help you learn the language of the rule book and also learn the basics of the rules. Okay. So we'll do this one and then we'll do some Q&A here in a second. And by the way, you could go right now and go to Gemini and do this. So if you have a Gmail account, you have Gemini. Okay. And it's just it might limit you to how many of these you can do. But you can do this. Okay. I know that you can upload your documents. The issue you're going to have if you do the rulebook scanning is it only allows files up to 100 megabytes. And basically the rulebook, when I uploaded it, was like 400 or 350. All right. So in the video provided, the runner's movement does not constitute being out of the baseline under blank, 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 because the base path is only established once a tag attempt is made. And it gives you the rule, 3-foot rule. The runner is restricted to 3 feet on either side of the established direct line. In the video, the runner running towards home takes a wide path to avoid the catcher who is waiting with the ball. However, because the catcher has not yet initiated a tagging motion or simply standing in the path, the runner is free to take any route they choose. So actually, it wasn't the catcher, I think, who was trying to make the tag attempt. It was someone else. But it says why he is safe, distance, field positioning, and then tip. Um, anyway, that's a different one. It's gonna try to be more helpful than it needs to be. And then it has a video here of when a runner is out of the baseline official interpretation, which I think is probably a YouTube video. No, it didn't pull up right. But it's going to have other videos that you can go find. Okay. So let me actually close that. Let me say one more thing, and then we're going to do Q&A until you guys want to take off. Okay. Um, Let me pull this up here. Okay. So what we saw here was, and what we went through was understanding the tool. What does Gemini do? What does Notebook LM do? In summary, Gemini is going to take information you give it. So you can upload stuff and ask Gemini, hey, only look at this stuff. But Gemini is also going to look out across the internet and try to find answers. Okay. Which sometimes is good, sometimes is bad. And Gemini is a little bit more conversational, and just generally think it's going to have a larger sample, but it's also more likely to have hallucinations, which is just bad information. Then we tested it against a rules test. So we asked it rules test questions, and then it gave us the answers based on its interpretation. And next, we tested it against videos. And then next, we're going to ask it against your questions. I think the video thing is fascinating because even though it's not perfect, it was pretty freaking good, which is crazy. Like, it's crazy that I just said, watch this video and then apply this rule set. Like, my brain has had a hard time realizing, like, a computer just did that. And I know people create computers, but it's mind blowing that we could put a video up there. And even if it's wrong in its interpretation, it's going to get somewhere near the rule, and then we can have a conversation about it. But I get so tired of people not citing rules for their answers. Like, okay, if you believe that, that's fine. But what, under what rule? Like, people go before the Supreme Court, guess what they do? They cite other cases, other rules, other laws. Now, there's interpretation that might differ, but they cite rules. So I would encourage you, even though it's not the standard, but cite rules when you can. And I'm not a rule book expert, except for I know how to go find the rule because I go to Gemini and I'll go find the rule and I'll copy and I'll paste it and I'll say, hey, here's the rule and here's why. And sometimes I'm still wrong. I might interpret the rule the wrong way. Okay. But those are the things we did. All right. I want to show you one more thing and then we're going to wrap up with Q&A. I'm not here to sell you anything, but I worked hard on this, and so is my friend Aaron, who's also on the call. I wanted to show you this. This is a tool that we have built. Some of you actually already used this tool before, but it's called Officials Pay, and it is a tool that will track your games, how many times you've done plate, bases, or worked by yourself, how much money you've been assigned, but you haven't done those games, how many games you've completed but not been paid, how much money you've been paid, and then what would be the total for your year. So this is actually my number as of today. As of today, I have $1,090 out there for 13 games that I have not yet done. I have $310 of games that I have done. I have not been paid anything this year, so I'm owed $310 for my duties. And so far this year, if I never got assigned another game, I would have $1,400. It has my schedule, it has my partners, it has teams, it has coaches' contact information, it has what percentage I've worked for different organizations. It will do my mileage for me and my mileage reimbursement for me. So come tax time, I can just figure out how much mileage is. It will do the math automatically. It knows that Independence High School is 4 miles away from me. And so, or actually 12 miles. So it's 24 miles round trip. And then it will do my tax rate, my reimbursement rate. So at the end of the year, I can just give my accountant this information. So I know that on March 2nd, I am working the bases and my friend Luis is working plate. All right. And I know where that game is and who it's against and what organization it's for. So this is a tool that we will be offering subscriptions to likely in the next month. It'll be a one-time fee, and I believe it will help you get paid and keep track of your money better, and you will save money on your taxes by claiming as many reimbursements as possible. It also does individual expenses, like if you have to buy new gear, it'll factor that in. It'll also help you, like if you buy a meal, you don't get 100% deduction on that. You get a 50% deduction on that. So it does a lot of that math for you. So this is a tool that we've been developing for probably 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 or 7. I don't know. It's all a blur, but that is going to be available soon. All right. That's as much of a sales pitch as I'm going to give. Okay. I'm going to stop my share and just ask you all to chime in with any questions you might have. There's still quite a few guys here. So just chime in. What questions do you have? What suggestions do you have? Do you want to test anything out? Have you used this and found it to be helpful? I'm just interested in your feedback on the ideas. And if you have any questions about officials pay, the tool we're making, you can ask that too. But I'm here to talk AI. So what questions do y'all have or comments? Todd?
I took 100 question practice exam for the NFHS, and yeah, it was a good experience in double checking what AI says.
Hmm.
So, and what I found out too was from a lot of people apparently failed the practice exam in the umpire unit because they just took the first answer they saw in AI.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting where it was like I won't put a number on it, but there was a good number of experienced umpires who failed the exam because they were using AI.
So I wonder if part of it, I wonder how much of that was they used the AI wrong or if the AI was wrong.
It's that,
And
and
I listen, I'm not like I don't have stock in ChatGPT
yeah,
or
no,
Gemini or
I've been
whatever.
using Google Gemini all day for work projects, so I
Right.
can't.
But I think the challenge is, yeah, it's like saying Google sucks. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, if I Google like what's good food, then yeah, it's not going to give me very good results. But if I
yeah.
say
Well,
what's the best sushi within 2 miles of me with more than 200 reviews on Yelp, I'll get better
yeah,
results, right?
yeah, and I don't want to. Yeah, it's tricky because a lot of the guys who failed were older, who I've noticed there's a thing where people will say AI, well, AI said this, it's right. There's no
Yeah.
whatever. But one thing where it was helpful was because it was a lot of it was with case play stuff,
Yeah.
was just entering the case play question, pulled up exams and like study materials from umpire associations from around the country
Interesting.
that
Yeah.
you'd never find just doing a Google search.
Yeah, because yeah, it's interesting because I think the fact that I mean, I guess Google is crawled as well, but yeah, it's funny. Like, I actually reached out. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a guy that like cursed out an umpire and his dad. His dad was also umpiring, and he this was after the game was over, and these were like 10-year-olds, and he like went internet famous, which is not a good thing. Like people were calling his work, and like he was like he apologized after he basically got shamed, right? Um, got banned from coaching that league forever. But I say all that because like the idea that you can just like search things and come up with results does not does not justify or make people smarter, right? It doesn't. Like you have to be able to put in the right parameters. And if you use AI for the right in the right way, I think it's phenomenal. But you can also just find crap, right? Like it
Yeah.
literally at the bottom of Notebook LM, and I think it says it right here. Notebook LM may be inaccurate. Please double check its responses. Like that, like that's like one of my favorite pastors ever said, "Don't believe what I preach." Like I hope you trust me, but if you're concerned or confused or have questions, like you need to go verify with another source. Like I am not your ultimate source. I think I'm right, but go do your own research, right? So I think if we treat AI that way, it can be a tremendous tool for all of us. Duncan asked a question about officials pay. I would be interested to see how much people are willing to pay, obviously, but we are floating around like the $50 a year mark for the tool. And what we believe to be true is that based upon mileage, because I've gotten research from probably 500 or so umpires of their pay, average number of games, average pay, average miles, that if you use our tool and you take and average expenses on equipment. So if you take all those things into effect and you add, $1,000 for food over the whole year, like just eating out that you could claim that you don't. If you take all those, the average umpire should be saving around $500 on their taxes if they claim all their deductions correctly. The average umpire. And if you do more than 100 games, then the number just goes up higher. So if you use our tool and you track your expenditures correctly, it should pay for itself 10x, right? In that regard. Now you're saying, Andy, I already do my taxes pretty well. That's fine. The other thing our tool does is it really helps you keep track of your games if you're getting games from multiple sources. And I had a pretty baller spreadsheet I ran mine off of last year, but our ultimate goal is I made a tool that me as an umpire who works for 3 or 4 different associations at different times in the year and gets different pay, and sometimes I get $1,000 in my bank account, and sometimes I get $50 in my bank account at a time getting paid for games, is I lost track. There were times when I lost track if I've been paid or not, because a lot of times the same association is paying you multiple different weeks for different games. And so it's helped me track all that stuff. A really good example is today it was 35 degrees in Tennessee. We canceled our game today. Because I had it saved, I was able to text the coach of a middle school and say, "Are you guys going to play tomorrow?" Because I went to the game in my system and I had assigned a coach to that team and I had a cell phone number in there versus having to go into Arbiter and then that school, then that coach, and then personnel, and then copy and paste the phone number, which you can't do in Arbiter because you can't copy and paste phone numbers out of Arbiter. So there's other functions of it that beyond just tracking your pay. You could also see how many times you've done. This is interesting. How many times you've worked. Let's say Leonard and I worked together and we did 25 games. I could go, all right, how many times did I do plate and how many times did he do plate? It would actually track that for me. And I could see that he's a plate dodger. And I did the plate 20. I'm kidding. No, but you can actually see how many times you've worked with someone and how many times they've done plate or you've done plate, which is just kind of fun info. And I work with enough random people in my association that I also take notes on them because I've forgotten oh yeah, that guy's lazy, right? Or that guy always shows up late. You know what I mean? So you can also take notes on people, and you can take notes on teams, take notes on coaches. You can take notes on everybody. So, any other questions about AI? I'm interested to hear about how you might use this in the future for yourself, or even for other umpires.
I think it's a good starting point, if nothing else, Andy.
Yeah. How do you see yourself perhaps using it on a week-to-week or month-to-month basis?
Well, like you said, it's a trust but verify type thing, like you said with your pastor. I talked to, many umpires. I've been up in 21 years this year, so I have a lot of guys I can reach out and talk to, and it's not uncommon for us to start a group chat like, "Hey, I had a weird play tonight,"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we'll bounce it around, and then somebody will go, "Hey, I found it in the rule book. Here you go."
Right. Right. Yeah, and I want people to be able to find it in the rule book. And again, it doesn't feel that different to me than when Google came out and suddenly you could I actually saw a challenge. There's a professor, I think he's at Duke, and he has his students for a lot of contrarian things. But one of the things is he gave them a piece of paper. It said, "Go find this information, but you can't use the internet." Which is yeah, it's called a library. You know what I mean? But even then, they're like, "Well, where do I look?" You know? So it's who won the battle of so and so and why was it important? And they're like, I don't even know where to begin, but they couldn't Google it, right? They had to go look in books, look in an index and look in, so on and so forth. To me, that's what AI can become for us. Is yes, I could call Todd. I have 50 guys I could probably call. I'm very blessed in that regard that I know umpires in every state in America. I know an umpire. Okay. I could email 600 umpires today and I know they're umpires, right? But frankly, it's easier to go to Gemini and type it in, right? So if I really want to chat about it, I could, and I still call people. But I think it's a really good tool for us to have at our disposal. I encourage you to use it to try to get better at it. And I ultimately think that something has to be done in the future when it comes to helping understand the rules, that this becomes normalized and improves so that we can use it to help us become better learners. AI is not going to replace high school umpires for a long time. A long time, right? A long time. I know the ABS has started in the major leagues, but that bad boy is not getting to high school if it does, it's 10, 15, 20 years away. And that's just because of the cost, right? The cost has to come way down, right? Okay. The technology is obviously pretty good when it works, but the cost has to come way down. So I'm not worried about that, but I am worried about knowing the rules and becoming better as an umpire. And I'm just going to put this out there. I would have no problem if I was confused about a rule, instead of pulling up the NFHS app, to pull up my Gemini and ask it a question and then verify it. Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't buy the digital rule book because it's useless to me. It's too much work. You know something's not a good resource when it gives you the answer and you still don't know the answer. Because it's like, hey, go look up this rule. Like, I shouldn't use the word deceive, but I would be typing the word deceive into the rule book and it would come up with nothing because it's not in there, because I'm not asking the right question. But if I ask Gemini or Notebook LM, it would understand what I'm trying to say, right? And it would then give me a specific rules reference. Because this is not about guessing, it's about knowing the rules and doing a better job as an umpire. So I hope that you'll consider trying this. You'll continue to test it. And when you come up with some cool examples, send them to me. You've got my email. We're connected on social media. If you end up using it for yourself, I personally have no problem if I have to go look up a rule using the rule book. But my rule book is in Notebook LM. It's not in the app. And if that makes NFHS mad, then make a better app, right? Make a better rule book. But that would be my advice. But it's our job to know the rules better. I want to know the rules better, but I don't have the time, patience, or apparently intelligence to use what they gave me. So I'm going to make my own. All right. Well, that's it for tonight. We'll have some other, meetings in the future as other topics come up. If you're interested in officials pay, if you're interested in any other questions that I can help with, by all means, reach out to me. I think it's pretty well established that I'm not the best umpire. I don't know the most in the rule book. I don't have the most experience. I don't have the best gear. I just am bold enough to go out there and look stupid sometimes. So yay me. All right. But I appreciate you all. Collectively, we're better together. So be grateful. Call strikes. God bless you all. And we'll see you. See ya.